It was a clear, sunny morning in New York City. People were heading to work, school, and going about their everyday lives, unaware of the unimaginable terror that was about to unfold. September 11th, 2001, a day that began like any other, quickly became one of the darkest chapters in modern history. It was a day that forever changed the United States, its people, and the world at large. The World Trade Center, a symbol of New York's power and global commerce, stood proudly in the heart of Manhattan. The towers were an iconic part of the New York City skyline, but on this fateful day, they would become the focal point of an attack that would bring devastation to thousands of lives and shock billions across the globe. To understand the events of September 11th, 2001, we must first look at the group responsible for the attacks. Al-Qaeda. Founded by Osama bin Laden in the late 1980s, Al-Qaeda began as a loosely organized jihadist network that grew out of the fight against the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi, channeled his resources into radicalizing followers, spreading the belief that the West, particularly the United States, was a threat to Islam. Welcome to Knowledge Through Times. If today is your first time coming across our videos, kindly like and subscribe for more historical contents. Throughout the 1990s, Al-Qaeda carried out a series of attacks targeting U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, and later the USS Cole in 2000. But bin Laden's ultimate goal was to strike at the heart of American power, delivering a blow that would have both a symbolic and practical impact. The seeds of September 11th were planted in the 1990s, as bin Laden and Al-Qaeda meticulously planned a coordinated attack on U.S. soil. The World Trade Center, the Pentagon, in Washington, D.C., symbolized the United States' economic, military, and political power, the perfect targets for the group's deadly ambitions. September 11th, 2001, began like any other day. In New York City, the skies were clear and blue. Thousands of workers were settling into their offices in the Twin Towers, unaware that they would soon be at the center of one of the most horrific events in history. At 8 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Boston's Logan International Airport. The plane, bound for Los Angeles, carried 81 passengers and 11 crew members. But unbeknownst to those on board, 5 hijackers were already in the cockpit, ready to take control of the aircraft and use it as a weapon. At 8:14 a.m., just 15 minutes after takeoff, the hijackers made their move. Led by Mohammed Atta, the group overpowered the pilots and took control of the plane. Atta, who would later be identified as the ringleader of the attacks, steered Flight 11 toward New York City. The passengers, terrified and confused, had no idea that their flight would soon crash into one of the world's most iconic buildings. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The plane crashed into the building between the 93rd and 99th floors, causing a massive explosion that sent flames and debris cascading down to the streets below. For those inside the tower, the impact was devastating. Hundreds of people were instantly killed or trapped above the point of impact, while others fought desperately to escape the thick smoke and flames. The world watched in horror as news networks broadcast the shocking footage of the North Tower burning. The immediate reaction was one of confusion. Was it an accident? A terrible malfunction? But as the minutes passed, it became clear that this was no accident. Just 17 minutes after the first impact, At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 slammed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact was just as catastrophic, with the plane slicing through floors 77 to 85, setting off another massive explosion. At this moment, the full horror of the situation became undeniable. The United States was under attack. As firefighters, police officers, and emergency workers scrambled to respond, the true scale of the disaster began to sink in. Thousands of lives were in peril, both in the towers and in the surrounding area. For those trapped inside the towers, the situation was desperate. Smoke filled the air, fire spread rapidly, and the stairwells, the only possible escape route, became overcrowded with panicked workers trying to flee. Many were left with no choice but to jump from the windows, a horrifying sight that has been etched into the collective memory of those who witnessed the tragedy unfold. One of the most harrowing stories from the day came from the 911 calls made by those trapped above the impact zones. These calls, full of fear and desperation, highlight the unimaginable terror faced by the victims. First responders, knowing the danger they were in, heroically climbed the stairs to try and save as many people as possible, even as the towers burned around them. While the world's attention was focused on New York City, the terrorists had more devastation planned. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the west side of the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. The heart of the U.S. military command was now under attack. The impact killed 125 people inside the Pentagon and 59 passengers on board the plane. But there was still one more hijacked plane in the air. United Airlines Flight 93, a fourth hijacked plane, had taken off from Newark International Airport and was en route to San Francisco. But unlike the other flights, the passengers aboard Flight 93 had learned of the earlier attacks through phone calls with loved ones. Knowing what was at stake, the passengers made a brave and faithful decision. They would fight back. The passengers stormed the cockpit, overpowering the hijackers in a desperate attempt to regain control of the plane. In the struggle, the plane crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at 10:03 a.m., far short of its intended target. Many believe the hijackers were aiming for either the U.S. Capitol or the White House. Thanks to the bravery of the passengers, countless lives were spared. The passengers of Flight 93 are remembered as heroes, their sacrifice preventing further devastation and proving that even in the face of unimaginable terror, courage can triumph. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, drop your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe to this channel for more historical contents.